Hello, good morning, and welcome to another special episode of the Vincent stream. And I'm your host, Vincent, and it is a beautiful Saturday morning. Oh god, I need to work on the intros. Okay, what is up? Man, there's quite a bit to cover. Yeah, I mean, obviously the elephant in the room being the Twitter shit. But yeah, we'll cover that in a second. I should probably pull stuff up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Twitter has become pretty fucking bad. Um. Yeah, I'm gonna need to go find it. Some of the stuff. Anyway, hopefully you guys are doing well today. I don't have coffee next to me as I would normally, but that's only because I had hot chocolate before stream. So there you go. Okay, I don't know why like my my Twitter thing is on dark mode, which I haven't had it on. It's odd, I guess. Um, oh shit. What the hell? Why is that? Wait, was that tweet blocked? Oh, that's weird. Okay. Yeah, man, it's been quite a fucking couple days here. Before we get to the Twitter thing, though, I'd like to discuss a separate story that is perhaps more important in the near term. Okay. By the way, hopefully you guys can hear me pretty well. Hello, hello, hello. Testing, 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 testing. Okay. All right. So, um, as it seems to be the case that there is a continuous trend of anti-trans legislation being passed throughout the country, it is my duty as a important ally to highlight these things and to call them out, and then hopefully solicit the participation of those watching to go out and protest or vote or do whatever it takes to hopefully hinder the legislative process that is discriminating against trans people. With that being said, there has been another recent anti-trans piece of legislation, and this one's pretty bad. Let me pull it up. All right, so there's my face, And then here it is. Okay. So we'll get into this. We'll get into like the actual article in a second here, but let's just read the Sparks Notes version, I guess. The Florida Board of Medicine Legislative Committee has voted to ban gender-affirming care for trans youth in Florida. It goes to the full board next week to determine the effective date. They will forcefully detransition thousands of trans youth across the state. So it's important to keep in mind when you see this sentence right here. It is important to keep in mind that while this is taking place at the same time, it is also true that gender affirming care is overwhelmingly produces positive outcomes for trans people. Usually results in lower suicidal ideation, lower anxiety. It's just better. And the detransition of trans youth across the state is setting them up later in life to be worse off in almost every respect, especially mentally. Now, what's also disgusting about this, even if you are like a moderate conservative, let's say, right, and you don't fully understand like you're okay with people like transitioning after 18 years old or whatever, if they're an adult, not just young people. Even if you're in favor of this, okay, if you value due process or and the likes, which I do, unfortunately, you will be dismayed by the following claim. The hearing was stacked against trans youth from the start, despite local families and activists getting their first. 9 anti-trans folks testified first. After selectively filtering to give a 50-50 split after, the board closed the hearing early, leaving many to not speak. Apparently, there was a tweet that was deleted. I think one of them was the one I retweeted. Huh. Even if legal orgs file a lawsuit immediately, it could take a month to get an injunction. So basically, there's going to be inertia with this. None of this was done through the legislature. They couldn't pass the ban there. So DeSantis stacked the medical board with political hacks to push through this policy. It is complete politicization of medicine. Yeah, so basically this was a premeditated thing conducted by the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, by virtue of the fact that he had appointed these members of the board of the medical board, that is, and they facilitated the process through where they are able to ban trans medical care for the youth. This is very disheartening, and that's putting it mildly. If we read the now let's move forward here to the actual. Wow, this is a whole video shit. Let's read the article. Okay. The Florida Medical Board Committee on Friday approved a prospective rule that will ban medical or surgical gender-affirming care for trans youth under the age of 18. Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm just reading this again, but I'm pretty sure surgical gender-affirming care for trans youth is already largely restricted. There are some exceptions to that rule, but they're very minor, and I think like the only times in which there are exceptions are for those who are getting like, chest surgery. But yeah, it's already largely restricted. Now, I think this might just be broadening it to not just surgical, but also medical. So this would also include like the prescription of puberty blockers and hormones, shit like that. The committee's recommendation will be passed on the board, but who will make the official ruling next Friday? Now, you know what's funny about, or this isn't really funny, but like, you know what's ironic about all this is the fact that like conservatives are always obviously trotting out the fact that they're very, they want to protect children, right? That is always the framing with all this. But at the same time, they never hear what these children or these trans youth individuals are saying. A lot of these trans youth are wanting to pursue gender affirming care. That's obviously not always the case, but overwhelmingly it is. And if they were interested in protecting children or looking out for the well being thereof, why wouldn't they be listening to these children who want gender affirming care? It's just interesting that it's not like the way they frame it is obviously like they want to protect children, but at the same time, doing what they're doing here is doing the opposite of that. This is gonna in the long term harm children, and when they get into adult age, I mean, who perhaps even earlier, who knows? They are going to be at a higher risk factor for suicide and other mental illnesses. The meeting, open to the public, was met with boisterous and emotionally charged commentary on both sides of war ensued when the opportunity to provide public testimony was cut short, with several attendees still waiting a chance to address the committee. This is pretty fucked up. I mean, you really like this is like. I mean, I like hate to be hyperbolic. This is kind of like authoritarian because like the idea of like you're not even gonna hear out all the people and like you have to have a hard cutoff. Like okay, we got to stop here. It's kind of fucked up because you shouldn't have taken on that many people if you weren't going to be able to get through all of them. Quote, I wasn't allowed to speak at all during the meeting today, and not to toot my own horn, but I do feel like I was one of the qualified people to speak in there as a transgender minor. See, okay, so this is what I'm talking about. These people, these conservatives, don't give a fuck about what transgender youth have to say about this. They don't. I feel like they are the most relevant here in terms of having their voice heard, and the fact that they were precluded from doing so is pretty disgusting. Jacob Willie, a transgender teenager, said afterwards so this was this is a teenager who had who tried to speak out about this but wasn't heard. Prior to the ruling, the board heard testimony from those in support and opposition. A number of adults in different stages of detransitioning. Oh, fuck. Okay. Spoke in support of the rule, citing multiple mental and physical complications they experienced as a result of gender affirming care. Oppositional testimony came from the transgender individuals or trans youth advocates that cited the risk to youth mental health, including increase. So this is the opposite of reality. Yeah, so it is overwhelmingly the case that individuals exhibiting gender incongruence who receive gender affirming care are significantly less likely to be at risk of suicide. This is a disgusting repudiation of the empirical evidence. Also, the fact that they had detransitioners there speaking, but not fucking trans youth, this kid right here, is extremely gross misconduct by the medical board. Oh, is there more? Okay, so I guess we're gonna get more into it. Most children who have socially transitioned still identify as transgender years later. Yeah, this is obviously true. If approved, the rule would limit the care for the treatment of gender dysphoria in Florida. Gender dysphoria is when a person experiences emotional distress because of, The rule would prohibit puberty blockers, so that's what I mentioned earlier, actually. Hormones, cross-hormone therapy, and gender-affirming surgery for people under the age of 18, with the exception of individuals enrolled in IRB-approved, university-centered clinical research trials. So this affects a insignificant amount of people. There are currently no active clinical trials in Florida, okay, related to the provision of gender-affirming care and whether the length of these trials would be adequate to allow full transitional transitory care cannot be guaranteed. So basically, the only exception for people receiving gender affirming care is through this through these research trials, but there's currently no active clinical trials in Florida related to gender affirming care, and also they don't even know if, like, even if they were enrolled, they don't know if the length of these trials would be adequate. So they won't even guarantee the care anyway. So in other words, there is basically no way in which someone who is seeking out gender affirming care can really get it. Concerns over irreversible consequences of care, including hormonal therapy and gender affirming surgery, were raised in the meeting. However, for those who so let me be clear, okay? I think that GRS should probably wait until you're a little older, but things such as puberty blockers absolutely should be something that trans youth can be allowed to be prescribed. Additionally, I think also hormones, it's totally fine. In fact, I think that hormones should be over the counter. There's really nothing wrong. I mean, there's obviously, like, there isn't any more of a danger to taking hormones over the counter than there is taking fucking ibuprofen, right? Because, like, you can overdose an ibuprofen. I mean, there's just, in my opinion, I think that the danger presented through these two different medications are, I mean, they're comparable to me, at least. The only reason why any individual would be against the idea of over-the-counter hormones is because they either don't understand the effects or the side effects, or they are afraid of more trans people existing. Yeah, okay. But anyway, I guess the point I wanted to elucidate was that GRS, I think it's okay to wait till at least you're at, 18. I'm totally fine with that. But like, other forms of gender affirming care, like puberty blockers and hormones, that should be on the table, in my opinion. However, for those who have not gone through puberty or are undergoing puberty, the usage of blockers are often the first step in medical transition. And according to the AAP, these are known to be safe, temporary, and reversible. So this is objectively true. But see, it doesn't matter though, because the thing is, like, even if there is empirical evidence to highlight the fact that they are safe, temporary, and reversible with regards to puberty blockers, it doesn't matter because that's not what they care about. What these people care about are preventing more trans people from getting gender affirming care. A lot of it is motivated through transphobia, but also part of it is the fact that they don't want a what they would deem as a social contagion to proliferate within their own society. So it requires not just like empirical evidence. Like, you have to appeal to something else, right? And that comes down to morality. I mean, it's super complicated, but yeah. Healthcare providers for trans people debunk new Alabama legislative misinformation. The board brought several experts to talk about. Okay, so we're just going into the efficacy of GAC. The consensus is based on a solid body of evidence with more than 16 studies confirming that standard medical treatments of gender dysphoria are safe and effective. Medical research on the transgender community is limited, but studies on transgender adults suggest gender affirming care, including surgery, results in significantly lower odds of psychological distress, tobacco smoking, and suicidal ideation. Research shows that people who have gender affirming surgery had significantly lower odds of psychological distress, tobacco smoking, and suicidal ideation compared with trans people with no history of GAS. An endocrinologist supports sole treatment with medical care in lieu of his company. Okay, so yeah, the move comes as Florida legislators backed by DeSantis to crack down. So at the end of the day, this comes down to transphobia. They want less trans people in existence. So the main way in which they can do this is frame the usage of gender affirming care, or GRS, as dangerous, as irreversible, and so on and so forth. And this placates to the fear response among several individuals who are already predisposed to the propaganda espoused by Fox News, for example. They believe that this is again, a social contagion, a deviation from the natural law. They believe that trans people, I mean, personally, probably are disgusting. I mean, there is a lot of obvious bigotry taking place here that is motivating the moves by this medical board, and it's going to result in many trans people, unfortunately, suffering. And I'm sure, in fact guarantee that there are going to be trans people who are going to die as a result of this bill being passed. But perhaps that's the goal of these people. Maybe I don't know. Maybe the fact is that they just want trans people dead or exiled from their communities. It's one or the other. Because at the end of the day, this isn't only just going to result in trans people falling deep into depression because they can't get GAC, so they unfortunately will take their lives. It's also going to result in many of them moving away from Florida. Now, I'm not saying that that wouldn't be unwarranted, but I don't think they should have to. Nobody should have to move out of a state because that state is so fucking egregiously transphobic or bigoted towards them. Like, that's just inexcusable. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty pro freedom, and I think that doing this shit, like allowing people to have access to GAC, totally fine. Not only that, but it's empirically proven to be safe and reversible. But as I've mentioned earlier, it's not just about what the empirical evidence suggests. It's also about they just are transphobic. And given the fact that the people on this medical board were appointed by Ron DeSantis and other, conservatives, this this is a complete and utter disgusting process that took place because they didn't even let everyone speak, and they didn't. Even, and one of the people who was precluded from speaking was a trans youth, one of the people who would have been affected by this ruling. So they are speedrunning the I mean, I hate to be hyperbolic, but I mean they kind of are speedrunning the genocide of trans people. It's I mean, whoever has watched my stream for a little bit, we have gone over so many different pieces of legislation throughout the country that have specifically targeted trans people or who have tried to erase the representation of trans people. I mean, a couple months ago, right? I think it was in June. There was a bill proposed in Idaho that was trying to criminalize the citizens who are pursuing gender affirming care across state lines. I mean, this is just a trend we are. That is one of many different bills that have been proposed throughout the country very recently. That it will result in the death and suffering of trans people. So it is our responsibility, in fact, everybody's responsibility, to fight back against this. I hate to like placate the fear here, but like at the same time, like if they're willing to go this far for like trans people, what is stopping conservatives from doing the same thing for gay people? Or the same thing to Democrats, who they consistently villainize and demonize on a daily basis. I mean, just take a look at Trump's rhetoric regarding Democrats. It won't stop, certainly with trans people. I guarantee you that the next step would, of course, be gay people, perhaps the African American community. It's just gonna go down the line until they eradicate every demographic in which is politically and socially antithetical to their belief system. So, with that being said, please go out. Obviously, voting only does so much, but I highly encourage those to vote blue. And we gotta highlight this shit, and we have to fight back against it, not just online, but in person. So, hopefully things will get better. I think that this bill might get challenged through the ACLU, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but hopefully things turn out better very soon. Okay. Yeah, man. Doomer shit. Am I right? Wow, my Twitter's blowing up. Okay. I guess let's move forward to the next thing, which is yeah, let me pull some shit up first, actually. Oh boy, this is gonna be juicy. And don't mind my dogs because they're probably about to bark. Yeah, sorry, I'm just pulling some stuff up real quick. Actually, I gotta confirm this. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Let's do it. Okay. So on October 26th, Elon Musk posted this video to his Twitter. And subsequently, um, okay, I don't want to spoil it. Okay, and subsequently he had, I think, changed his Twitter bio to Chief Twit. So basically, he officially bought Twitter, and as a result, boy oh boy, have the floodgates been opened here for a lot of different people here. Um, So there has been rather a very high surge of racism, transphobia, whatever, bigotry, basically, and it has been pretty fucking bad. Now this doesn't mean that this sort of shit hasn't happened in the past on Twitter, but the degree in which it has is incomparable to what is taking place now. That is definitely for sure. So the fucking bottom feeder degenerates that occupy the space of 4chan, who occupy the space of Stormfront, all these different alt-right platforms are coming out of the woodworks to exploit the supposed lack of a TOS on Twitter through the acquisition of Twitter from Elon Musk. Um, this has been, yeah, as you can see here, this has been the um, very ubiquitous thing seen here so far. Now, interestingly, Elon Musk made this tweet, which is a very interesting tweet to make in light of the fact that the platform has seen a dramatic surge of anti-Semitism, transphobia, and racism, shit like that. It is interesting to see such a tweet here, followed by, of course, further proof that the N word here being used at a very high volume. Now, what's interesting here is that this states that evidence suggests that bad actors are trying to test the limits on Twitter. Several posts on 4chan encourage users. So we are seeing an enclave, of 4chan users coming to Twitter to exploit the, I guess, the system. Now, keep in mind that the use of the N-word is still a bannable offense on Twitter. However, the fact that Elon Musk has acquired Twitter, um, this is this has emboldened or rather galvanized the alt-right community, groupers coming from all different corners of the internet. But it's not just obviously the people from 4chan. There are verified accounts here that are also testing the limits apparently. So as you can see here, this individual who is a decent following and who is a verified account and also presumably conservative, is making tweets such as this. There are only two genders, and then having this in the bottom here. Now, you are going to see this on from multiple different people, right? So there is two ways to interpret this, what's going on, right? So one way to interpret it, if we look at like these kind of tweets that are like trying to say this is a test. Now there are multiple ways to interpret it. One of which you could argue is that they're trying to see how much they can get away. They're dipping their toes in the water to see, okay, how far do I have to go before I drown? And they are starting off with some shit like this, and are going to eventually move over to, excuse me, to more openly transphobic rhetoric. That's one way to interpret it. Another way to interpret it could be that this is just all a virtue signal to exploit the trend of Elon acquiring Twitter. And this is a virtue signal to the fact that they are pro First Amendment, pro free speech, anti censorship, anti woke, blah blah blah. This could also simply just be a signal the fact that you were always persecuted through this this implication here. This is a test. signal that you always censored and kept under wraps, I guess, from the uh, Jewish, or I mean, sorry, the totally objective people at Twitter, or well, also by the way, uh, you know, trying to again placate to the Groyper community. So yeah, I mean, like, just multiple ways to interpret this. But you know, obviously, it's worth noting that these people could have easily said this before Elon bought Twitter. In fact, this was something that was always being stated throughout the platform, and there are plenty of people, a lot of which were never removed. We have further more people stating this, including Matt Walsh, who is an open theocratic fascist, and also interestingly saying that it's time to start misgendering them as if this was like a new thing. Like he was still like he still did this even before Elon acquired Twitter, and that also rings true with tweets like this. We move forward. Another verified count. Just because you grow your hair, so another like now we're moving past just like there are only two genders, right? And now we're moving into a little more descriptive transphobia. So again, first you dip your toe in the water, like so, followed by going waist down. Now we don't know how far. I don't know how far they're going to take it, but they'll take it as far as they can to maximize the amount of both exposure and growth that can come about from being this transphobic. They can utilize the surge of 4chan users and probably people from other different sorts of bigoted platforms, Kiwi Farms, for example, Stormfront, like all these different platforms. So they'll maximize what they can get out of this. Um, and Elon Musk has been I mean, he's a very popular figure, obviously. So like, and he also has a huge following with like the conservative community. So they are going full throttle, like this, like Twitter. They believe that Twitter is going to be the next 4chan, which it might be a hot take, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that the TOS will still continue to be enforced. And right now, what we're seeing is just a temporary surge of all the transphobia, and it'll definitely decrease. But like in terms of longevity, that I can't really speak to. I don't think so. I don't think like this is going to be sustained, you know, bigoted platform. The extent, certainly not to the extent of 4chan. I think that Twitter is way too mainstream. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe this is all just me underestimating. So yeah, these people are saying so. So here's the thing. Here's why my second theory that I proposed here makes sense. These people are saying shit that you could have said anyway. So because that's the case, it feels like they are simply saying this to exploit the surge of 4chan users coming to Twitter. Not just 4chan, by the way. I'm sure that other platforms, like users from other platforms, are coming to Twitter to exploit the system to see how much they can get away with. And I guarantee you that these people, Ian Miles Strong, Matthew, like all these people, are going to exploit that to like to cloud farm, because like they know all these people are coming. They're going to test the systems, as they say, and these are things in which those bigots that are coming from these different platforms are going to be looking for. So Matt Walsh saying this, could see a bump in his impressions and or it, whatever, right? Like this is what I think actually might be happening. I think that it's all a cynicism game. Obviously, obviously they are also bigoted. There's that too, right? But they were always bigoted. Them coming out of the woodworks now and saying, you know, oh, I am free from these shackles. I can now say men can't be women or men can't be pregnant. Like this was already the case. They are signaling that something that was like they're signaling like a victim complex that was never really there, because if they were violating TOX to a meaningful extent, they would have already have been, you know, banned from the platform. And I believe that some of them already have. Wasn't I thought Majority Green was banned for a certain period of time for code misinformation or whatever. Um, and also, I mean, Trump was obviously banned as well. So there is a line that does get crossed. But these people who are being bigoted on this platform, they were already doing so. And it's not like they're breaking free from the authoritarian Twitter employees. This was always the case. But this is what I mean. I think that they're just placating to the surge of people coming from other platforms. They're trying to exploit that for their own benefit. And in that regard, in that respect, it's, you know, about cynicism. There again, don't want to underplay this, but there is obviously bigotry taking place here. There's, I mean, that's obviously true. But I think that them coming out and saying all this shit, right? It's because they want to become more relevant, I guess, and expand their, you know, their reach. So anyway, that's my perspective on it. Um, so I don't know. I mean, there's and it's like all over the place, you know. Like I see this shit all over my fucking timeline. Um, yeah, and you know, and again, it's also worth mentioning. It's kind of like what this person says. They do hide behind the fact that it is like, you know, free speech, but at the end of the day, they just want to get away with being more openly transphobic and racist, without being, you know, deplatformed, as they would say, um, because they want to, you know, obviously expand their reach to more people. Um, if they're less likely to be deplatformed due to bigotry, then that increases the likelihood of them being able to reach out and radicalize more individuals. That's why I think like things like bigotry, for example, should be like, you know, that's something that should be banned, a bannable offense. So yeah, I don't know. This isn't like people want to like claim like, you know, like free speech, whatever. Like you can say whatever you want, but like there are limitations, and also it's worth mentioning that it's also worth mentioning that like, you know, like this is a private company who can make their own rules. But something like being bigoted, for example, I feel like that should be like universal across all social media platforms, because social media is utilized by so many different people, or so many people. Um, and I don't know. I would have to think about some more, but I wouldn't even necessarily be opposed to like, you know, some there being some laws where the extension of the Civil Rights Act gets applied to like online shit. Like, maybe there is a law that's already saying that. I don't know, but yeah, man, pretty fucking crazy shit. And there's also uh, fuck, where's yeah. So again, more more open bigotry here. Yeah, I'm just trying to find that fucking tweet. Or Okay, I guess I'm not gonna be able to find it. That's okay. That's all right. Okay, so basically, here's the thing. Okay, just to wrap up. So, the acquisition of Twitter from Elon Musk has resulted in a great surge of 4chan users coming to the platform and being racist. Not just racist, all. There's also other forms of bigotry. Um, Also, there are people who are already on the platform of Twitter who are now being more openly bigoted because they believe that they can get away with it. This comes as a result of the fact that Elon Musk has positioned himself as being an individual who is very pro freedom of speech, right? Um, and to conservatives, when they hear that, what they actually hear is, well, okay, then I get to be able to speak on how, all gay people are social contagion, how Jews are actually running the world, and they can engage in all these conspiracy theories unfettered. They believe that that is something that is necessarily a part of the free speech thing. This is true to an extent, though. When it comes to a private company, there is TOS that gets enforced. This has nothing to do with the First Amendment. There are every private company has the right to outline a TOS for the people or for the users on that platform. If you violate that TOS, you either get banned or suspended for, however long. And when again conservatives hear free speech, they think they can say whatever they want, and they'll push the boundaries as far as they can go. But that's not really how that works. When it comes to free speech, this, in the sense that you can say whatever, that's true. But it comes down to whether the government can crack down on you saying whatever. In this case, it's Twitter. And because, again, Twitter is a private company, it has the right to outline whatever TOS they deem appropriate. Now, we will see, like, again, as I've said already, saying the N word on Twitter will get you banned. Right now, there is a flood of people coming in saying the N word. I believe I saw a Bloomberg article, or maybe it was Business Insider, stating that the increase of the N word has gone up by over 500%. And which, by the way, should really tell you something about Elon Musk. The message that he has sent to the individuals, or to everyone, really, especially how that message gets perceived through conservatives. Because again, when conservatives hear that, like, because they associate Elon Musk with being very pro free speech, when they hear he acquires Twitter, they think that means they can be uh, openly transphobic, openly bigoted, and all this other shit. This isn't true. Twitter still has a TOS. You can't say the N word. You can't say all this other shit. And these people, are going to be in for a rude awakening when they realize that, the rules still apply to them. And I think that, like, this is, again, something that's going to be a short term, like, huge surge that we're seeing right now. But, like, in the long term, it's not going to be this, dramatic. Um, but I think something important to keep in mind as well, like, there's multiple things that's important to keep in mind. Um, Obviously, the big one really is the fact that, like, it really goes to show you that conservatives, when it comes to free speech, they hear that and think, oh, I get to be racist. Um, they it just, like, speaks to them, like, to the values that they hold near and dear to their heart and want to propagate throughout, throughout society, really. But um, not just, but it's not just that. It's also clout sharking, because people know that because Elon bought Twitter, there is going to be way more groypers coming into Twitter. And as a result, these alt right platforms are going to become galvanized, and it's going to kind of be like a self fulfilling prophecy, kind of, because there's more people, clamoring to their openly transphobic and racist remarks. They believe that that's a more ubiquitous position than the wokes are willing to, you know, uh, admit, and B, it's going to increase the amount of exposure they get through the mainstream and on the platform itself. They are doing this for cynicism, in terms of being openly transphobic. But they're also doing it to virtue signal and hopefully, through the pressure of many different people, uh, probably change TOS to be more lenient. This is unfortunate. It's really sad that we even have to have a conversation regarding whether bigotry should be allowed on a social media platform. I felt like that should have been settled at this point, and for a long time I think it was, but here we are. Living and breathing in a timeline where Elon Musk buying Twitter resulted in a dramatic increase of bigotry across the platform. It's not surprising, when you think about it. Really, Elon Musk has cozied up to you know a bunch of different conservative communities, the IDW. This is He's deep in that belly of the beast. But I don't know, man. I don't know what the state of Twitter is going to be in the long term. I know that people are leaving, and I don't know, because I think I think that Musk has also stated that he fired the CFO, like he's firing a bunch of people or something. I probably want to get confirmation of that. But yeah, he's firing people, and just I don't know, it's really galvanizing the conservative community, because you have people such as Ben Shapiro, who is looking at that and is making a whole whole segment about it regarding um how the wokes are in shambles, and this is just they're taking this opportunity of Elon Musk uh acquiring Twitter and also firing people as a dab on Democrats or people who are ostensibly left leaning. um yeah, I don't know, but the state of Twitter is right now pretty bad, because there's so much bigotry that is you know infesting this hell site. The moderation team, God bless. They should honestly just have a flat out ban on the word, like the N word. Like anybody who says it, automatically has their account suspended and the tweet simple as that. Simple as that. And I don't think, and look, I'm not a software engineer, but I don't think that's difficult. I highly doubt that banning a word on a on a social media platform flat out would be a difficult task. That should have already been the case, in fact. But I don't know. I guess we'll find out what happens with Twitter. I wonder how I wonder how Elon Musk is able to get a grip on all this shit. Yeah, I guess I don't know. We'll see. Because again, you have to keep in mind there's still a board of directors, I believe, for Twitter. It's not like he's a fucking uh, monarch. But right now, the state of the website's pretty fucked. I don't know. We'll see if things get better though. Okay. Let me grab some water really quick. Hold on. Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. Moving on. Kanye West is also in the news. I covered a little bit about his shit, but like not really like in depth. Recently he stated that he has an obsession with Nazis and Hitler. I'll show you. Oh shit. Wait. There we go. There's two things in here. So he made a 2018 album. And it highlights if I remember correctly, it highlighted the fact that he was bipolar, has mental issues or something. I don't know. It's really sad actually. But he stated wanted to name his 2018 album after Adolf Hitler and had an obsession with the Nazi leader. Uh, TBH, I could be I could be I guess we'll just read the article a little bit. Some people who were once close with the artist formerly known as Kanye West told CNN that as long as he... So, okay, he has a long fascination of Hitler, and he wanted to name an album after Hitler. A business executive who worked with West, now goes by Ye, told CNN the artist created a hostile work environment through his obsession of Hitler. He would praise Hitler by saying how incredible it was that he was able to accumulate so much power and would talk about all the great things he and the Nazi Party achieved for the German people. Jesus Christ. So this is obviously testimony from a different person, not Kanye directly. Oh yeah, well this is the same. It's saying the same thing. But holy shit. This does track with the comments he has made about Jews in the past couple weeks. The executive left his position and reached a settlement with West over workplace complaints, including harassment with CNN. The former executive asked not to be named. West denied the executive's allegations. Of course he does. The executive told CNN. Now, look, could it be the case that he's being framed? Sure, I guess, but like at the same time, like he did say, he was JQ posting, and I don't know. You don't just start JQ. Like I don't know. This seems to track with what's going on. The executive told CNN that West spoke openly about reading Mein Kampf, and expressed his admiration for Nazis and Hitler for their use of propaganda. There's nothing wrong with reading Mein Kampf, but there is a problem with admiring the Nazis and Hitler. Yes. Or their use of propaganda, even that, yeah. The individual stated that people in West's inner circle were fully aware of his interest in Hitler. 4 sources told CNN that West had originally chosen the title Hitler for his 2018 album that eventually released as Ye. They did not want to be named. Yeah. Okay. So the label denounced the anti-Semitism and dropped him. Okay. Um, he The revelation of West's alleged history of admiring Hitler comes amid a wave of inflammatory actions by West and began earlier this month. He wore a White Lives Matter shirt during his Easy Fashion show in Paris and dressed several black models in clothing with the phrase deemed a hate slogan by an anti-defamation league. He then posted a private text conversation on Instagram between himself and Sean Diddy, Combs, in which he claimed Combs, I don't know why I'm saying Combs, was controlled by Jewish people. He followed that with a tweet in which he said he would go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, which locked his account. West's offensive rhetoric in the last few weeks has resulted in professional fallout for the rapper and designer. In a statement, the sports said it does not tolerate anti-Semitism in any sort. Yep. So he's being dropped by a bunch of people for being like a Nazi, I guess. It's pretty crazy actually, how like how much he has fallen off. Like, over the years, like he has kind of like a sad history, I guess, because his mom passed away during the making of I think one of his albums. I think it was the Late Registration. I don't really remember, but and that affected him greatly. I know that he's also dealt with mental illness for some time now. And I know that well, I don't know, but I can imagine that being in the spotlight for such a long time can have a negative impact on somebody. Celebrities are always feeling the pressure from everybody, and it's not, and being popular or being a celebrity, it's not for everybody. But I don't know to what extent that does or has exacerbated his mental faculties, but like it can't be good, right? But this tracks like his obsession with Hitler, the fact that he was JQing, and the fact that like he was gonna go DEFCON 3 on Jews. Like I don't know, it reads like somebody who just like got out of like reading Mein Kampf, and then like after the last page, after they read the last page, they like close the book and are like, "Wow, I cannot believe the Jews are like this. Unbelievable. I gotta go on Twitter and say that." Like, it just reads like someone who just got radicalized. And I'm referring to the DEFCON 3 tweet. Yeah, like this quote here just reads like someone who just got done finished reading. Um, fuck, what was that one book? Shit, not Mein Kampf. I'm totally drawing a blank on what the name is called. The Tales of something? I forgot. Well, anyway, it's just like an anti-Semitic book. But yeah, this just comes off like someone who just got done reading. Um, Now taking a step back and looking at the effect that this will have amongst the broader community or among broader society, I guess. Kanye West is a deeply popular figure in the music industry, and especially within the hip hop rap community. And him, espousing such rhetoric, it could easily sway people's opinions, depending on the degree of how impressionable that person is, obviously. But that is the case for like anybody else, right? Um, it just kind of like also it's I don't know, it kind of like sheds a light on like a way in which people can become radicalized because like people like unless like you're interested in politics like naturally, they are typically like have a basic understanding of it, and they are usually more focused on like their interests, like whether it be football or music or things like that, right? If somebody in that community is being openly transphobic or who is openly anti-Semitic, depending on how convincing they are in like doing this, not just with the rhetoric they use, but also the pacing in which they introduce those topics, it can move people over to the right. And with Kanye, I think that it was done too dramatically, I guess. He kind of like went full on anti-Semitic JQing, right? And this doesn't even preclude the fact that he was always known to be harbor like conservative beliefs, especially recently. So in his respect, it doesn't really like I don't know how much radicalization can take place amongst the people who are within that music community, especially those who follow hip hop, rap, or whatever. But I think it's important to just highlight the fact that like this can be effective because what if he was more convincing? I think that like an example of somebody who was convincing in terms of moving people over to the right um, would include Tucker Carlson. He was obviously always on the right, and also he was involved in politics anyway. But going from like your, neocon, you know, going from like a neocon ideology to a full throttle fascist, that is kind of like a jump, you know, and he slowly and Tucker Carlson slowly introduces, um, white supremacist talking points, and doublethink, and like all these other elements that are associated with fascism by exploiting different tragedies or different news headlines. Like the Buffalo shooting thing, for example. Um, that was ostensibly a byproduct of the rhetoric, the Great Replacement rhetoric that he was saying on his show. Um, So I think that, it's just important to keep in mind the ways in which people become radicalized. Because people become radicalized by people within their own community who may not necessarily be political, um, introducing topics um, or topics to them over the course of a long period of time. So I think that's just one way. I'm not going to pretend that I know everything about um, the nature of psychology and how people learn shit, but I think that's important to keep in mind. People become radicalized in different ways, but I think one of the main ways in which that takes place is when those in communities exploit headlines and tragedies and such, and introduce you know populist right rhetoric, um, to sway them in a different direction or make them think in a certain way. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just I guess, my perspective on that. Whew, man, my throat is killing me. Okay, damn, I'm getting so many fucking. Why am I getting so many notifications? What's going on? Lovely. Gotta report some people. Sorry. Oh my god, why am I mentioning? Sorry, on Twitter, my mentions are blowing the fuck up. Dude, I'm sorry, but anyone who uses like GIFs on Twitter, just like stop, please. I guess I'm gonna have to mute this thread or something because Okay. Okay, so let's move on here to something less terminally online. We have an election coming up very soon. Now, I already voted because I am a lover of democracy, and because I love democracy even more, I voted for Democrats. Okay, hold on. Can I, okay, can I not use a news site without it fucking up the entire webpage? Is that a thing that could happen? Let's just look at the polls. This is gonna be the last time we're gonna look at the polls, by the way. This is getting tight. Okay, we'll start. This is actually fucking. Oh man! Oh, hold on. I actually have to talk about Nancy Pelosi. Shit. Okay, we'll do that as well. Hold on one second. Nancy Pelosi. Then we'll get to the election. Stop it. Okay, so hold on, let me share my screen. Oh, I love this. Thank you. I don't care. Okay, Nancy Pelosi. Well, her husband. They apparently there's a guy who intruded in their house, and got assaulted. Her husband did. I don't know if she was the. I don't know if she was like a target too. I don't know, but let's read a little bit about it. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband Paul underwent successful surgery to repair a skull fracture and serious injuries to his right arm and hands following an attack at their San Francisco home, according to the California Democrat spokesperson. This is coming at a really bad time for conservatives, by the way. The big picture. The attack early Friday morning came amid an uptick in threats against the members of Congress and a series of security incidences over the summer. This shit's, I mean, like, this shit is actually getting for realsies. Like this assault on our democracy, and also I will hang every Democrat. A series of high-profile security. I'll get back to Nancy Pelosi in 1 second here. A series of high-profile security incidents is rattling members of Congress and prompting Capitol security officials to take major steps. Why matter? Threats against lawmakers have risen precipitously in recent years, and many of them are still reeling for the violence of January 6th. The House Sergeant at Arms on Wednesday announced plans to cover a cost of security upgrades to members' homes, including $10,000 for equipment and installation costs. The development came just weeks after a man was arrested for threatening, um, okay, outside her home while armed with a handgun. That's actually like holy fuck. Why did I not hear about that? Huh. More recently, Lee Zeldin, uh, who's running for New York governor, is attacked by a man holding a sharp object. Tim Ryan, who chairs an appropriations subcommittee that oversees the Capitol Police, told Axios that every day is on high alert in the wake of these incidents. Okay, so shit's going down, basically. Got it. The suspect, who police identified as 42-year-old, was looking for the speaker. Oh, so Pelosi was the. Okay. The source said that before the attack, DePape confronted Paul Pelosi, shouting, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Paul Pelosi's doctors expect him to make a full recovery, which is good. Pape will be charged with multiple felonies, including attempted homicide for allegedly attacking Paul Pelosi, the 18-year-old husband. Early morning, blah, blah, blah. He attacked Pelosi with a hammer in front of officers after they arrived for a well-being check at around 2 a.m. Huh. Wait, why would there be a random well-being check? Is it just because he's old? Nancy Pelosi was not in San Francisco at the time. In a later statement, said Paul Pelosi's under 160. Okay. He'll be charged for attempted homicide. Yep. The officers immediately tackled, disarmed him, took him into custody. President Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer both called the House Speaker on Friday morning, according to statements. The president is praying for Paul Pelosi and Speaker Pelosi's whole family. So, you know what might be a silver lining to all this? Is that Democrats take fascism a little more seriously. Because these people are fucking crazy, right? Like, these people will overthrow the government if it means installing a authoritarian dictator, Trump, DeSantis, fill in the blank. They don't give a fuck. They're completely delusional, and it really is kind of like a mental illness, honestly. Like going into feeling the need to go in there and assault somebody just predicated on their political beliefs, or in this instance, their relationship to a individual who you I would say strongly dislike, is pretty mentally deranged. So this was, for all intents and purposes, an assassination attempt. Now, conservatives will not highlight the fact that this is disgusting. In fact, I wonder what they're actually saying. I don't know. You know what, I would have to go on YouTube and look. I don't really care actually. But I am inclined to believe that they will probably in fact, we already actually saw this. Oh shit. Well, that was the thing. Ron Paul said something that I think will echo the framing of this by other conservatives. I don't see them fully condemning this. They will probably bring in some ancillary shit. Okay, so like this, for example. You can see, okay. Yeah, Ron Paul says, no one deserves to be assaulted. Unlike Nancy Pelosi's daughter, who celebrated my assault, I condemn this attack and wish Miss. So this is them. It's not just like a point blank, now is not a time to bring this up. I'll just say that nobody deserves to be assaulted, and I hope that she she recovers soon. Not like that. The framing here is, of course, focused on this part. Unlike Nancy Pelosi's daughter, who celebrated my assault, I condemn this attack. So this is making it about him. This is motivated through cynicism, as is mostly the case for politicians. But this is the framing which Ron Paul is adopting, and I believe that a similar framing will be adopted by other conservatives. So yeah, I don't know. They can't just condemn it. They have to qualify some other bullshit with it. Yeah, it's just pretty crazy, man. Oh, my bad. I don't know how much. Hold on. I don't even know if there's a video on this, but I am interested to see the reaction from other conservatives. If they can just condemn it. All right, let's try. Hold on. They could also just not talk about it too. That's, I guess, another option for them. All right, I do not see anything there.
And
Okay, I don't think they're talking about the Nancy Pelosi assassination attempt. Conservatives. Conservative. pundits and grifters and the like. They're not talking about the assassination attempt that recently took place. They're jerking off about Elon Musk, I guess. All right, cool. Well, anyway, to bring it back to um, bring it back to the topic at hand here. Conservatives, right? They will try to murder people who, and not everyone, not every conservative, of course, but some are certainly willing to attempt murder amongst not just very popular Democrats, but also probably amongst like lesser known candidates across the country. They're certainly also willing to engage in voter intimidation. Um, I think I highlighted that in my last stream actually. There's like people outside of a voter like precinct, like people dressed up in like camouflage and shit. Like I don't know. Yeah, voter intimidation. So you're gonna see this across the country and probably for a quite long period of time. At least as long as fascism becomes more openly adopted across the country. And if you don't want to say fascism, if that triggers you, then I guess you could also say like just far right ideology. I don't know. So moving forward though, with the actual election at hand, right now the numbers are pretty like I mean it's like dead heat, right? Um, Now unfortunately because the race is so close, at least with the Senate, voter intimidation is going to have a marginally more impactful effect because voter turnout, even like a little, even if voters become intimidated to some extent and it discourages some people, that will have a marginally larger impact because of how close the race is. And if we look across the country, let us go to some of the closer states, right? So Arizona, right? Well, this one doesn't actually look that close. Our governor. No, Carrie Lake's pretty good. Okay. It looks like she's running away with it. For the Senate thing, Mark Kelly's favored to win, which is good. 70 in 100 times. Not good enough though. This is a large discrepancy. At one point it was 83. Then it went down. But I think it's safe to say that this one's pretty secure. At least that's what the numbers are suggesting. There's no reasons there. What about Ohio? JD Vance has a strong lead. He's more than likely, in my opinion, to win. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. These are all Senate, by the way. Going up to the Fetterman race, it's not looking great because he has the shit has swung pretty far away. So look, 83 and 100 times on September 13th. Slowly going down. Now we're at 58 when it matters. This seems to usually be what happens closer to election time. Things get closer because I think things become more refined. Yeah. If Fetterman loses, that's a big L for Democrats because he was in the lead for such a long period of time. We go to Nevada. This one's dead fucking heat. The governor one is really close, apparently, too. Democrat is at a slight disadvantage in the governors. For the Senate, Democrats also at a slight but lesser disadvantage. Democrat has lost ground in this one as well. So the Democrat has lost ground with the Senate in this one, and this is an interesting race, just from the numbers standpoint. So with Fetterman, he lost major ground. With Nevada, the Senate, they've lost major ground. well, maybe not major, but they've lost ground as well. And then also, fuck, what was that one in? I don't know, I forgot. But if we look at Georgia, Warnock could possibly win. I'm not going to give up hope on this one because I think that there's too much liability for Walker. And there's also early voting. Like, yeah, I just think like maybe there's this one's this one's like almost 50-50, but I feel confident in Warnock on that one. I don't feel confident for Ohio. I don't feel really that confident for Nevada either. Pennsylvania, I'm now like pretty afraid of because I thought Fetterman had a pretty good chance, but the lead has shrunken to a large extent. Those are the big races, right? Georgia, I guess Arizona, you could say. Like, and there's also like House shit too happening, right? Even the governors. Like the governors is pretty important too. Don't get me wrong, but like Pennsylvania House, the 7th district. This is like 50-50 basically. If we move to the House, Republicans are overwhelmingly favored to win. Now this is in respect to the majority. 19 and 100 times Democrats will come out of this election cycle in the majority. So at this point, we gotta hope that like Republicans, if they do, because it seems like it's highly likely Republicans will win the majority in the House. We gotta hope that that number doesn't cross. Hopefully not 225. Worst case, I'd say the 230 range. 225, if we can keep it below that, that'd be great. But it's gonna be tough. But these elections are very unpredictable. There's a lot of things that change on the day of voting. A lot of dirty tricks that are played by the conservatives as well. So, right now Joe Biden has a 52. Okay. So what do we take from everything here? Overall, I would say that Democrats have lost a lot of ground. It doesn't mean that they will lose the majority in the Senate, but they need to win the Senate desperately because losing the House is almost a foregone conclusion. It's not guaranteed, but it's highly likely. The Senate needs to be held by Democrats because if they lose both the House and Senate, then we are fucked. I can't see how Democrats are struggling this much with the Senate, given the fact that conservatives have put forward bad candidates, and also there's so much political assets for the Democrats to exploit. They could, placate to suburban women with the abortion shit. They can, you know, they can appeal to the younger crowd with the marijuana thing from Joe Biden. They can also appeal to the younger crowd with the college debt cancellation thing. Like, there's so much shit to work off of. It should not be this close. The messaging needs to be better from Democrats. It really has to be. Given how the stakes are this high, right? And they always are for election, don't get me wrong. But with the fact in light of like this like Nancy Pelosi thing, you would imagine that the Democrats would understand like the stakes here, right? Because we're not just talking like, oh, this is just like, they're gonna set us back a couple of steps, but when we get back in power, we'll reverse it. It's not really. We're getting to a point where that's not really what's at stake anymore. It's more like are they going to dismantle our democratic institutions that will prevent Democrats and anybody who is left leaning from acquiring power? We're kind of at that point. I mean, conservatives have, we've seen it, storm the Capitol building in January 6th, voter intimidation. They're becoming more honest and more adoptive of this anti-democracy sentiment. Losing the Senate, like seriously, losing the Senate is a huge deal for Democrats here. If they lose both the House and the Senate, it's I mean, I'm not gonna say it's GG, but it's not gonna be good. This puts a lot of pressure on the national campaign for Democrats. They're not gonna just, we have to obviously win these local elections where we can, but if we lose, or if the Democrats, because at that point you're gonna have the Senate to the Republicans, you're gonna have the House to the Republicans, the Supreme Court to the Republicans, and the last thing to fall here is the presidency. If the executive branch gets ceded to the Republicans, this next election cycle, we really are in for a windfall. Yeah, I mean, this is like the absolute worst case is if Democrats lose the Senate and the House, and also in 2024, Ron DeSantis wins the presidency. This is worst case scenario, and unfortunately, it looks as though most of that is coming to fruition. I mean, we need high voter turnout. Like, liberals will win almost every election if there's high voter turnout. There are more liberals in this country than conservatives. So the higher the turnout, on average, the more positions of power Democrats will wield. So this is why voting, people are going to cringe at this, but it's true. That's why voting is very important. And in some elements, or depending on how you look at it, could be the thing that, I don't want to say saves democracy, but at least stalls the upheaval of our democratic institutions. So, I mean, like, this is what's at stake right now, in my opinion, at least. But I don't know, man, because like, really, what is stopping conservatives? Like, if they have all the power, like the House, Senate, like the presidency, like and the SCOTUS, like what's stopping them from doing whatever they want? They can ignore any checks and balances because they have all the other things that would otherwise keep in check their, their power. Trump was held back largely from his ability to install anti-democratic shit because of how powerful our institutions were prior to that, and also because of the security state hindering him at every turn. But what happens when all those people get replaced by conservative hacks? I mean, it all that needs to fall is just enough things for like the fucking camps to be built, Just enough institutions need to fall for things to go south very quickly. I mean, just look across the country, man. I mean, like all the anti-trans legislation. It's a product, like with the fucking Florida thing. That medical board was appointed by people from DeSantis. What happens when DeSantis becomes president and appoints several people at different other positions that upends our democratic institutions? And he's the president. I mean, he can make the appointments, right? Obviously, there are other agencies at work that could challenge this, but look, at the end of the day, these are the people with the military behind them, so they can do whatever the fuck they want. And this, by the way, isn't even to mention how it would galvanize the conservative community. Even if the security state successfully and adequately precludes DeSantis, we'll just assume he beats Biden, right? Precludes him from doing whatever he wants, and like the Senate, that has a slight majority for conservatives, somehow is like not openly insane. This doesn't like you are still like galvanizing conservatives in the country with the rhetoric being espoused. Because DeSantis, I mean, I don't know if anyone here has listened to him talk, but he certainly doesn't have a milk toast opinion on trans people. Neither does many other conservatives, for that matter. So, yeah, I mean, like, just even speaking so openly and so transphobically about shit, it's like, I don't know, it instills a normalization about certain ideologies that make people more predisposed to ascertaining those said ideologies. And that can have a negative impact across the country. So, I don't know. I hope like things like don't spiral completely out of control here, but I don't know. I like to be hopium and shit, but there's so many things that's like there's so many things that are acting as roadblocks right now. You have fucking dumb you have dumb fucks on Twitter like Socialist MMA who's who's advocating basically for not voting for Democrats because they're pro-war. This is working against the Democrats, for better or worse. At least a small minority of people who would otherwise have voted for Democrats. You have the normalization of bigotry through the rhetoric of like majoritarian. All these people on Twitter who are coming from 4chan because of Elon Musk acquiring Twitter. It's just, it's like one after another, an enclave of things that can make Democrats less able to like acquire power. Because at the end of the day, what I give a shit about is a free society and more importantly, a democracy. The protection of a democracy. This seems like it's falling apart. In the long term, at least. I don't know. I mean, I really hope I'm wrong. I don't know, but there's just so many different things that are like again, they're just functioning as roadblocks. But I don't know. Just obviously the voter intimidation thing, that's going to, depress turnouts. There's disenfranchised laws that also are going to prevent turnout, especially in red states. Um, you have these different issues that are being framed in a certain way that are going to perhaps sway moderate voters to vote red. Like, there's just so much shit, man. All right. I think I covered everything I wanted to for now. Um, yeah, I think so. Uh, so yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else to really talk about. I could react to No, I don't. I won't do that. Okay. Well, I think that's it for today. I covered everything I wanted to for at least for now. So yeah. With that being said, I guess what I would send you guys off on is just like you know, please go vote. Vote blue. And, you know, keep donating to the respective causes that are progressive, rather. And keep fighting the good fight, both in person and online, I guess. We got to get as many people to vote as possible. So, all right. Well, hope everyone else has a great day for the rest of the day, and I will see you guys next Saturday for a fun-filled stream. I might do one earlier. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys.